Picture this. 480 BC, a narrow coastal pass in Greece, known as Thermopylae, or the Hot Gates. On one side, the largest army the world had ever seen, led by the god-king of Persia, Xerxes. On the other, a tiny defiant force of Greeks, commanded by King Leonidas of Sparta. This is the stage for one of history's most legendary last stands, immortalized in movies and comics. But the story of the 300 Spartans is so much more than the myth. It's a tale of strategy, sacrifice, and a calculated gambit that would shape the future of Western civilization. Forget the slow-motion fight scenes and fantastical monsters. Today, we're uncovering the real, raw, and absolutely gripping truth behind the Battle of Thermopylae. What really happened when 300 Spartans stood against 1,000,000? Let's find out. To understand Thermopylae, you have to understand the stakes. The Persian Empire, under Xerxes, was on a mission of conquest and revenge. A decade earlier, the Greeks, particularly Athens, had humiliated his father, Darius, at the Battle of Marathon. Now Xerxes had returned with an army of staggering proportions. Ancient historians like Herodotus claimed it was over 2,000,000 strong. Modern estimates are more conservative. Maybe around 100,000 to 300,000 soldiers, but even at the low end, it was an overwhelming force for the divided Greek city-states. The fate of Greece, its culture, its democracy, all hung in the balance. The Greek plan was simple, yet brilliant: stall. They needed to buy time for their navies to engage the Persian fleet, and for the rest of their armies to mobilize. They chose Thermopylae for a reason. This narrow pass, wedged between the mountains and the sea, was a natural bottleneck. Here, the Persians' massive numbers would count for nothing. It was the perfect choke point, where a small, well-trained force could hold off a much larger one. And who better to lead this desperate defense than the Spartans? Sparta was a society built for war. From the age of 7, every male citizen was forged into a warrior through a brutal training regime called the Agora. They were the professional soldiers of the ancient world, renowned for their discipline, courage, and mastery of phalanx warfare. The man chosen to lead this mission was King Leonidas. By 480 BC, he was around 60 years old, a veteran king from one of Sparta's 2 royal houses. He was chosen not just for his military experience, but for a specific reason: he had a son. Spartan law dictated that only kings with male heirs could be sent on potentially suicidal missions, ensuring the royal line would continue. Before he left, the oracle at Delphi gave a chilling prophecy: either Sparta would be destroyed, or a Spartan king must die. Leonidas knew exactly what his mission entailed. It was a death sentence, but one that could save Greece. Now, let's address the biggest misconception of all: the idea that it was just 300 Spartans. While Leonidas did lead his personal royal guard of 300, they were far from alone. The full Greek force at Thermopylae numbered somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 soldiers. These men came from all over: Greece, Thespians, Thebans, Phocians, and others. They were all there, shoulder to shoulder with the Spartans, ready to defend their homeland. The 300 Spartans were the elite corps, the heart of the defense. But this was a pan-Hellenic effort. For 2 full days, the Greek strategy worked to perfection. The Persian army threw wave after wave of soldiers into the narrow pass, and wave after wave was broken against the Greek wall of shields and spears. The Spartan phalanx was an impenetrable machine of bronze and muscle. Even Xerxes' elite troops, the legendary immortals, couldn't break the Greek line. From his throne overlooking the battlefield, Xerxes reportedly leaped to his feet in frustration 3 times as he watched his best troops get cut down. The Greeks, fighting in rotation to stay fresh, held the pass against impossible odds. The ground was slick with blood, piled high with the dead, but the line did not break. It seemed impossible. It seemed like the Greeks might just hold out. But then came the betrayal. A local Greek man named Ephialtes, whose name would become synonymous with nightmare in Greek, saw an opportunity for wealth and reward. He went to Xerxes and told him of a hidden path, a secret trail that went around the mountains and would come out behind the Greek position. It was a shepherd's track, unknown to the invaders. This was the moment the battle turned. Xerxes immediately dispatched a contingent of his immortals along this path, guided by the traitor. When dawn broke on the third day, the Greek scouts came running back with the devastating news. They were being outflanked. They were surrounded. The pass was lost. Leonidas's response was swift and decisive. He knew the battle was over. There was no point in sacrificing the entire Greek army. He gave the order for the majority of his allies to retreat. They had done their job. They had bought the precious time Greece needed. The navy was engaging. The other armies were preparing. Now, it was time to save as many men as possible. But Leonidas and his 300 Spartans did not retreat. They chose to stay. They were not alone in this final, desperate act. Around 700 Thespians, led by their commander Thermopylae, refused to leave. They chose to stay and die alongside the Spartans. A contingent of about 400 Thebans was also forced to remain, as Leonidas suspected their loyalty to the Greek cause. So, in that final stand, it wasn't just 300, but over 1,000 Greeks who prepared to meet their end. Why did they stay? For the Spartans, it was law and honor. Spartan warriors never retreated. They returned from battle either with their shield or on it. To abandon their post was the ultimate disgrace. For the Thespians, it was an act of incredible, selfless courage, choosing to die for the freedom of a Greece they might never see. The final hours of the battle were brutal. Pushed back from the narrowest part of the pass, and now attacked from both front and rear. The remaining Greeks fought with a ferocity born of desperation. Herodotus tells us they fought with their spears until they shattered, then with their short swords, and finally, with their bare hands and teeth. Leonidas fell in the heart of the fighting, and a fierce struggle erupted over his body, with the Greeks driving the Persians back 4 times to recover their fallen king. Eventually, driven back to a small hillock within the pass, the last of the defenders were overwhelmed. Xerxes, in a fury, ordered his archers to finish them off. The sky darkened with arrows, and the last heroes of Thermopylae fell. So was it a victory or a defeat? Militarily, Thermopylae was a clear defeat. The pass was taken, and the road to Athens was open. Xerxes' army marched south and burned the city to the ground. But strategically, it was a profound victory. The 3-day delay, bought with the blood of Leonidas and his men, was absolutely critical. It allowed the Greek navy, led by the Athenian Themistocles, to position itself for the decisive naval battle at Salamis. The news of the heroic sacrifice at Thermopylae spread like wildfire, unifying the fractious Greek city-states and inspiring them with a newfound resolve. At the subsequent Battle of Salamis, the smaller, more agile Greek fleet crushed the massive Persian navy in the narrow straits. The following year, at the Battle of Plataea, a unified Greek army, led by the Spartans, decisively defeated the Persian land forces, ending the invasion for good. The sacrifice at Thermopylae was not in vain. It was the spark that lit the fire of Greek victory. The legacy of the 300 is immense. Their story became the ultimate symbol of courage against overwhelming odds, of sacrificing oneself for the greater good and for freedom. The epitaph later placed at the site of the battle, written by the poet Simonides, perfectly captures their spirit. Go, tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. It's a story that has echoed through millennia, inspiring soldiers, leaders, and ordinary people. The real story of Thermopylae is more complex and even more inspiring than the Hollywood version. It wasn't just about 300 super soldiers. It was about a coalition of Greeks, a brilliant defensive strategy, an unthinkable betrayal, and a calculated sacrifice that saved a civilization. It is a testament to the idea that sometimes, true victory isn't about winning the battle, but about inspiring the will to win the war. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into one of history's most epic moments. What part of the Thermopylae story inspires you the most? Let us know down in the comments. And if you enjoy uncovering the true stories behind the legends, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Historical Figures and Moments, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.